That, as Gnome says, there is the final whistle. It has finished somehow. It has finished Chelsea 3, West Ham United 0, despite Chelsea barely troubling Lucas Fabianski in the second half. I think bar the 2 goals they scored, they only had one other shot on goal. Unfortunately, West Ham equally poor at the other end, really, despite having plenty of possession, not managing a single shot on target in the entire game. And unfortunately, when those are the stats, you're always going to struggle. Briz, I'll come to you first, buddy, for your post-match summary. Chelsea 3, Chelsea opening the scoring on 10 minutes when Thiago Silva, rising unmarked at a corner to nod the hosts into the lead. West Ham had already seen a goal ruled out correctly for offside. Declan Rice marginally offside when being put in by a Cresswell free kick. And then, of course, a big controversial moment, really, for West Ham on the half-hour mark when Jared Bowen put the ball in the net. Seemingly, it looked like a legitimate goal, but ruled out for... We're still unsure quite what that's for, so I don't know if perhaps Gnome can pick up on that in the post-match interviews. Maybe one of the managers will be asked. I don't know. We'll see. But very, very, very strange. A very, very long period in the second half when not much happened, and then 2 goals arriving within 2 minutes for Chelsea to put the game beyond doubt. Shortly after, Said Benrahma had replaced Pablo Fornals as David Moyes desperately sought to make a change to pull West Ham back into the game. Unfortunately, tonight, it has worked in recent weeks, but unfortunately tonight it had the opposite effect. And Tammy Abrahams scored a brace within, as I said, just over 2 minutes to condemn West Ham to a 5th defeat of the season after just 13 games. Briz, that's how it's ended, 3-0. Your thoughts, please, buddy?
I think, again, it just shows the teams that have got the money, the teams that can afford to have the players on the bench, and the teams like us who should have the players on the bench but haven't gone and done it. So I think the difference tonight was the substitutions. I really do. I think that the players that came on for Chelsea were equal to or better than the players that they replaced. And I'm not so sure that was the case with us. We brought on players that I don't think made any difference to our side. In fact, I thought, if anything, they took us backwards. And I think that that's something we've got to address. We've got to do something with this squad. And I was reading around the financials of the club, and it looks like we're about to post another 50 million loss this year. And I'm just thinking to myself, well, there's only one way this squad's going to go. If you keep on older players and you fail to invest in younger players that are here coming through the ranks, making a difference, there's only one way you're going to go, and that's backwards. And I feel a bit for David Moyes, because he must be looking at January and he knows what he needs. He's going to be looking there going, well, actually, if I'd have had another centre forward, if I'd had another left back, maybe I could have done something. And he knows he's not going to get the money for it. And then he looks at Chelsea, who've got more players out injured than they're better than pretty much half our subs bench tonight. And he must be thinking to himself, I've done the best I can with what I've got, and I'm not being backed up here. And I think really the board have got to take a really good long look at this and decide whether or not they want to be a team that's in the second half of the division, just sitting above the bottom 4, or whether they actually want to be challenging for something. If you want to challenge this season, and we're in a good enough position to do it, then you got to put your hand in your pocket and do that. And I think that's really been the difference tonight between Chelsea and us as a team. I think we gave everything we could, and we just ran out of steam when we didn't have any options, whereas Chelsea did. And that's
okay. Thank you, Briz. Rio, Briz suggesting that the difference tonight was the substitutions, and we said, Rio, didn't we, before the game started, that this could perhaps be the game where David Moyes, the first time really where those injuries had, taken a real toll. No Lanzini tonight, and obviously Antonio out. Those issues, and with a very, very thin squad, we looked at the bench at the start and thought, if we need someone to come in and pull the strings and make a difference, you're struggling to see who that's going to be. Was that the reason we lost tonight? Or was there something more to it? I mean, we didn't play particularly well. I think at times we bemoaned in the second half the quality of our crosses and set pieces, which have been absolutely fantastic until this point throughout the season, but just didn't really work tonight, did it? So, what did you make of it? How would you sum it up?
Yeah, I think you got a valid point about the set pieces. It was said that tonight was the first time we conceded all season from a set piece, which is very unlike us. We were wasteful when we did have it. We didn't put, I don't think, one decent cross in all night, which again nullifies a lot of our threat, because the higher Souček, Hallers can get up there and make a nuisance of himself, and we didn't deliver at all in that area. For me, we lost. I think the substitution made a. It was the wrong choice, the player to take off. Fornells does a lot of work, particularly when we're playing with a back four. Creswell hasn't got the legs to get up and down as he used to. And Pablo Fornells, although he was brought predominantly as an attacking midfielder, but he's been playing a lot ever since Moyes come into the side, as manager again, sorry. When Fornells has been playing, he's done an awful lot of work tracking back. When Arthur Masuaku's in the team, he's allowed to play more centrally Fornells, and he's got more creative input and more attacking impetus.
Yeah.
We're missing Arthur Masuaku. I never thought I'd ever say that, because he brings balance to our side. He affords Creswell to get up and down a little bit, because he can drop back into that left back role, the left side of the central role. So it's the wrong choice of player to take off of me. I think I don't want to beat Noble down, but for much of the game, it bypassed him, and it was not incredibly noticeable. But both the goals come, and I've got to say, what annoyed me more than anything at all is I thought the worst player on the pitch wasn't one of our players. It was Tammy Abraham, who, until he scored, not only was a crime against haircuts, it's a crime against football. I mean, he was an England international. He was absolutely shocking tonight, and he's walked away with 2 goals, it's devastated me. It's those little key areas. We were wasteful when we did have chances. We didn't put the ball in the right area, and poor substitution. Yes, we're lacking numbers, but surely he could see that a younger, fitter Chelsea side were outworking us and had much more energy, were a yard quicker. Don't take a man who's got an engine on him off, because going forward he wasn't the best again, but he was doing so much defensive work, and it disrupted the balance of our side.
Yeah, I doubt it will be any consolation, Rio, when you have to go to work tomorrow and face all those Chelsea fans. But for what it's worth, you were the only one who got anywhere near predicting the correct score tonight by predicting us to lose 2-0. So, no, as I said, no consolation.
No, it's not helped at all, mate.
Is it really? But there you go. Pinky, Rio, quite sure it was the wrong sub by David Moyes. You know, we've praised David Moyes, and fair's fair. You know, where praise and damn in equal measure. We've been very, very complimentary with his substitutions in recent weeks, but just didn't work out tonight, did it?
No, it didn't. And you know, was it the wrong sub, or was it the only real option available to him? You know, and this,
maybe.
you know, this is, you know, I'm going to go on about the chairman a bit here. This is classic David Sullivan. Yeah, you deny the manager the players he wants, and then you offer him a player that you, as the chairman, want because someone said he's quite good, and then you're into this never-ending game of the manager having to put him on to be the game changer when he didn't really fancy him in the first place. And Moyes will be sitting there now on the bus back to our side of town, and he'll be going, "There you go, Mr. Chairman. You've signed that player. I didn't really want him. I've given him a game, and I had no other options. This is what you get." And if I actually thought our chairman would learn the lesson, then that'll make a difference. But he doesn't, and he won't. And therefore, I'm not going to hold David Moyes responsible tonight for making the wrong sub. I'm firmly and squarely holding David Sullivan responsible for having a squad that is so unbalanced, so unresourced, that a highly experienced Premier League manager is having to make a change that he must know is risky in some regards and is unlikely to bear much fruit in other regards, but he has no other options. And, you know, there'll be Sam Allardyce sat somewhere in front of a TV screen looking and going, there you go, Moisey. Told you that's what you get with Mr. Sullivan. But, you know, we laugh about it, but this is a joke that's gone on too long. And at what point will the chairman actually say, I'll provide the funding to the manager and let the manager manage? Because tonight what we've seen the absence of Arthur Masuaku unbalance the team in one regard. You know, for absolute certain. We've seen the absence of Mikel Antonio, you know, weaken us severely as a potent attacking force. And we're now having to fall back on the dad's army of Mark Noble, who I'm highly reluctant to criticise because he's done great things for West Ham United. But actually, you could see, particularly in the first 20 minutes, he was struggling with the pace of the game. Part of that is he's not really played very much this season, but part of it is we're just looking at going, he's half an inch away from doing himself a serious injury at some point. So we're relying on that. We've got the 33-year-old Snodgrass on the bench, and to me, it's all a little bit desperate stuff. It shouldn't be this way. And what was looking like a promising season is now going to drift into maybe mid-table curb zone comfort. And it's a shame because it really doesn't need to be this way. 60,000 people, the club tell us, turn up at the London Stadium. Huge TV money, you know. I mean, forget what they tell people in the press about cheap tickets. I know what mine costs, and it isn't cheap. So the supporters are doing their bit. Loads of the supporters have left their money in the club, you know, despite the COVID thing. And you've just got a question, has the chairman got enough money to fund the club properly so we can actually be competitive? Or, Mr. Chairman, just put the for sale sign up, take a realistic price and move on? Because this is Groundhog Day. This is season after season, year after year. He doesn't have the readies. There's no shame in that. I haven't got the readies to fund a Premier League club. Yeah. But it's getting a bit ridiculous now. And I look at that tonight and I think, what could David Moyes do with the squad of players that Frank Lampard had at his disposal tonight? That's the question I'd ask and say, if David Moyes is managing Chelsea tonight, does anyone really think that we'd have had 30 touches in their box? Not a chance. Not a chance that would happen. So you've got the more experienced manager having to make do and mend, and a relative rookie manager surviving by the skin of his teeth, when really, if we had just a slightly better squad, we'd have spanked Chelsea tonight. No question about it. They were not 3 goals better than us. And it's just such a shame. It really is. Yeah,
it's a very good point. I mean, you make a good case regarding the squad. I'm not sure if Ben Rama specifically can be blamed in any way or that purchase, because I think even if Moyes hadn't spent them or the club hadn't spent that money, Moyes wanted to spend it on an extra defender, didn't he? His target was Tarkowski. You look at that squad tonight and think, well, perhaps if Tarkowski was in there instead of Ben Rama, would it have made any difference? Probably not.
I don't know. I don't know. I mean, there was lots of talk about King coming in, at the time Ben Rama joined instead. So undoubtedly the manager wanted an additional player at the back.
Yep.
But he also wanted an additional player at the front, and he probably wanted another player in the middle as well. And this is what we're down to, is unfortunately there isn't quite enough money to do what we need to do. And it's one season will almost fix the midfield. The next season will almost fix the defence. The next season will almost fix the attack. But then in season 4, we're back to all midfield needs another look. And we're perennially 50 to 100 million pounds of capital in the club short of what we really need. We're not talking fortunes here in the context of Premier League football. Yeah. But what did we move for if we're still doing loans and then pay for a player at some point in the future, all that sort of stuff? What was it all about?
Yeah.
And I know people probably getting sick of hearing me banging the same old drum time after time, but 60,000 supporters, 60,000 of us turning up. Don't tell me we're not a big club. Don't be writing on the forum that, you know, Declan Rice is too good for West Ham. I'll never have that. What we need is to show the ambition in the boardroom, yeah, because I think we've got the manager that can deliver on that. I think we've got some good players. We just need one or two more. And I don't think it's too much for us to ask.
Yeah, I guess in some ways we're perhaps like the footballing equivalent of the Humber Bridge, in the sense that, you know, by the time we have sort of repaired one area of the team, another area needs repairing, and you're constantly in that sort of zone where, you know, you've never got the team you quite want. You know, you're always starting again from scratch. But the point I was trying to make there, I mean, I absolutely agree about the overall funding, but, you know, I wasn't sure whether it was just Ben Rama. I mean, quite clearly, Josh King would have been, you know, an option tonight if the board had been able to back, or not if they'd been able to, if they'd been in a position or willing to back Moyes in the transfer market, then absolutely would have been an option tonight, wouldn't he? And there you go. And we're seeing it now, aren't we? Week in, week out, we're beginning to see, with the injuries to Antonio and the lack of replacements. Rio cited the Masuaku situation, how we've not recovered from that. You know, you're seeing it, and this is. I mean, you know, we all know this. You know, we all know this is the problem. The overall.
How does the chairman persuade Declan Rice that West Ham United is the best club for him to stay at?
Yeah.
When we start the evening filling the bench with two keepers and 33-year-olds. I like Robert Snodgrass as a footballer, yeah, but the reality is, have a look at the Chelsea bench tonight. You know, they've got a young player on their bench tonight, Billy Gilmore, who we would crawl over broken glass to sign.
Yeah.
You know, and he's sat on their bench tonight. Yeah. And Frank Lampard there, you know, who's a rookie, he's a rookie manager. He has been handed vast resources that the likes of David Moyes will probably never see again in his career. And we know it's an unfair league, but we're making it even worse by the chairman interfering in transfer decisions rather than leaving the manager to get on with it. And that's my main gripe. You know, if you're going to appoint David Moyes manager, who's an experienced manager, here's your budget, pal. When it's spent, and there'll be no more. And I won't be signing players, by the way, either. Yeah. And judge them on the results. But we don't do that. And we're always in this thing where we're saying, is he the chairman's player? Is he the manager's player? You know, Declan Rice will be looking at that going, I'll tell you one thing, I'm my own player, and I'll be saying to my agent in the summer, time to move on. And, you know, how do you build then? How do you build a top draw team if you're not going to actually say to your best players, not only are you a good player, we've got two more coming in the summer to support you?
Yeah.
You just won't do it.
No, absolutely. You're absolutely right.
Apologies, guys, I've got on a bit there, but there you go.
No, it's a well-made point, and it was worth developing. I mean, I couldn't go to Gnome anyway because he's currently watching Frank Lampard, I believe. Who's
my eyes are glazing over, and I'm trying to work out how exactly Carragher can actually get his tongue so far up Lampard's rear end from that position, because it's been all Frank, how wonderful changes you make, and to be honest, I'm not really going to comment on it. It's such a non-interview.
Okay.
It's you know, West Ham can hurt you, but we're delighted with 3 goals, and Silva, isn't he great for how old he is, and whatever, you know. It is really just you know, Frank, you're wonderful. Why is that? Is the gist of it? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we'll gloss over that then, and we'll give that a swell. I mean, I was going to call him Fat Frank, in reference to his former nickname, and then I kind of caught my reflection in the screen and thought that probably wasn't applicable. Gnome, your thoughts? We've waited a long time tonight to come in on this one. Everyone's made some very, very good points, but what did you make of it, your overall assessment of what you saw tonight?
Chelsea took advantage of the fact that we weren't at our best. We've seen some pretty crazy results this year.
Yeah,
all throughout the league. Echo what Rio said. Abraham, they interviewed him, and he had the cheek to sort of say, "Oh well, I'm just pleased that the goals helped the team." It's excuse me. Yeah, it's Echo what Rio says. Poorest player on the pitch scores 2 goals. There are lots of places where we should have done better. They're just showing his second goal now, which is a good move up the pitch, but really, as the ball comes across, Ogbonna fails to track. I'm not sure it's going in. I think it might be. Just watching it now. It was the Chelsea number 10. Basically,
Pulisic.
Yeah, complete lack of concentration. Neither Cresswell nor Ogbonna pick him up. He goes in between them. Cresswell again for the first goal didn't track Abraham's run, and there's things that we've been doing well all season.
Yeah,
and for each of the 3 goals, we didn't do it. We switched off. It's disappointing if you do that 3 times over the space of a few weeks. To do it 3 times in a game, you can't afford to do that. And that was what was upsetting. Got to echo some of Pinky's points there. They did focus on Mr. Sullivan in the stands there, and the next time he ends up on TalkSport or whatever that radio station is, and Jim White is doing a Carragher on him and telling him how wonderful he is. If anybody's doing a phone in, just ring up and ask if he's doing such a wonderful job. How come we're fielding a substitute bench with 2 goalkeepers? It's I know it's an expanded bench, and and there's players unavailable from the younger end of the squad because of COVID and things like that. I do appreciate that, but even so, you're saying that without dragging players out of the youth team, we can't put 9 players on the bench that maybe not starters, but would be able to plug gaps without putting 2 goalkeepers on. Anybody who says no, you're moaning because you've lost. No, we've been consistent all season, and we played well all season, and we've applauded David Moyes and the team all season. But we've said it week in, week out. We're only a couple of inches away from disaster, as we've proved today. Maybe there's something there I don't know about. Maybe David Martin is actually a really good striker, and what we needed him was to come out of the David Martin stand at Stamford Bridge, which it will now be known as to us, and come on and score. How great would that have been? But all joking apart, really. I think they're going to go to David Moyes very shortly after the break. So probably best to cut away from me now, and then I'll get back to you once David Moyes has spoken.
No problem. Well, look, we're not going to dwell on it tonight. It's been a pretty horrible game, and there's not a lot of good stuff to talk about. So I think we'll kind of end tonight's post-match discussion really by looking ahead to what lies ahead over Christmas. Been not a great run. What's that? 4 points from the last 4 games, which is a bit disappointing after the way we started the season. But chance and an opportunity to pick up some points in the next week or so, or a little bit more than a week. Looking at Christmas, we've got those 3 games within a week, beginning on the 27th of December, the day after Boxing Day. This Sunday, we host Brighton before travelling down to face another South Coast team 48 hours later when we travel to St Mary's for what should prove to be a very, very interesting tie against a resurgent Southampton. And then, of course, on New Year's Day, we travelled to Merseyside for the second time this season to face an Everton team that kind of have a couple of good weeks and then a couple of bad weeks, but seem to be doing rather well, really, this season. Briz, I'm going to come to you, first of all, to look at those three games. So home to Brighton and away to Southampton and Everton. What's your view on that? What do you think we're going to get? What do you think we really need to kind of stay in contention for, sort of maybe a European spot?
Well, I think we're better than Brighton. I think we'll take Brighton down. I think we're good enough to score enough goals there, and I don't think they're good enough to give us much more of a game if they go down. So, Brighton are going to be one of those teams that are floundering around the bottom of the table at the end of the season, and quite rightly, I think we'll take points there. I can see us nicking a draw at Southampton. Southampton are a team that are unusual. They can turn up and be brilliant, or be absent and be terrible. So I can see us nicking a draw there. I don't see us getting anything out of the Everton game. I think Ancelotti is a bit cuter than that. I think he manages his side incredibly well. I think they've won the lottery and getting him in as a manager. I think he's a very good manager. I think he's building something there that's going to go on to be a real force at Everton. And if they can keep him, and that's a big if, because again, he's going to be a manager of the sort at the end of this season, especially if the things are happening at Real Madrid and Barcelona. If they can keep him there, I think Everton will push on. Sadly, we're not going to be in that group, but I think there's 4 points from the taking from those possible 9 points out there. We've just got to try to keep the players fit, and I go back to I don't want to go negative again because we've done that pretty much tonight. But I was looking at the squad. We've got 10 over 30-year-olds in our squad tonight. 10 players over 30. And that's not good when you're heading into a really busy end of the season. When you're trying to keep players fit, and that's my only worry, is that we're going to go to these places with a really substandard squad and then try and nick points and try and nick wins. And I think we're good enough to get those wins with a fit squad, but I'm not sure we're going to keep everyone fit.
Okay.
But for me, it's 4 out of 9 for me.
A win, a draw, and a defeat for the next three. Of course, I was wrong there. It would actually be the third time we'll have travelled to Merseyside this season. The second time we would have gone to Goodison Park because, of course, we played there in the Carabao Cup, didn't we? And we're beaten quite heavily 4-1. Thank you, Briz. Rio, Brighton at home, Southampton away, Everton away. How many points for you?
I think we'll be lucky to come away with 2, to be honest. Brighton are a team that they always seem to get a result against us, particularly at home. I've got nothing but poor memories of this. Also, with us having to play on the front foot, break them down, we've seen our frailties in that respect time and time again. Fulham, we struggle to break down. Villa, we struggle to break down, despite the fact we won both those games. Palace, we struggle to break down. So playing on the front foot isn't suited to us. So if we get a draw, it wouldn't surprise me. Okay. Also, we've got to factor in, as Briz said, we're a threadbare squad. We're lacking options. He doesn't trust any of the youth players to step up into the breach. And what with the alleged COVID situation at the training ground, we're not likely to see any. Southampton away, it's probably our best chance, to be honest. Much as I rate them, because I think they've really impressed me ever since Project Restart. I thought they've been really, really good. James Ward-Prowse, in particular, has shone out for me as a quality player. I love a rare place.
Yeah.
But, we're more than capable of getting a result there. Again, playing away from home. Normally, it suits our style more. So I think out of the 3 games, that's our best chance of getting a win. Okay. As for the trip to Goodison Park, I will only bring in to play my personal record up there, which is beyond horrendous. So much so that I've been banned by my family from ever going again because it is just not good. It is not good at all. And they are a side on the up, aren't they?
They are.
Can only see a defeat because, again, you've got to take in 3 games in a week with a little threadbare squad. against a team that is looking pretty useful under Ancelotti. So yeah, I'm not expecting a lot out there.
So you're essentially going for the same tally as Briz, but just from a different games. A draw against Brighton and a winner at Southampton.
I'm not convinced about the win, but I think that's their biggest opportunity out of the 3 games. I'll be
we'll
happy. I'll probably think a draw at best.
Okay, well, I'll scrap that then and change that to 2 points from 4. Well, of course, we have had some decent results down at Southampton, haven't we, over the years? It seems to be a fairly happy hunting ground for us.
I think it's the last 2 years we've won there, isn't it? The Felipe Anderson year last year, I think Hilaire scored the winner last year.
Was it 1-0?
So yeah, I think 2 wins on the bounce.
1-0.
It was 1-0 just after Christmas because that was when I was allowed to go and visit my family down there, and that was I basically went to the match on my way back up to London, so it was a slight detour, and then came home straight from there. They're just about to. They're actually talking about a couple of VAR decisions now.
Okay. Well, come back to us.
So
come back to us. Come back. Have a listen, Gnome, and see what they say. And it'll just be interesting to see if anyone brings up that Bowen effort, because we certainly did, and no one else seems to be joining in with that one. But Pinky, there you go. Bristol's predicted 4 points from the Christmas trio of fixtures. Rio slightly less optimistic and predicting 2. What do you reckon, buddy?
3 points. I think we'll beat Brighton, and I think we'll lose to Southampton and to Everton. And just picking up on one of the points one of the guys made about Ancelotti, I think it was Briz making the point about Ancelotti. A rumoured £11 million contract per season he has there.
Nice.
You know, it's big money. So, you know, they've been brave. They've chucked some money at the situation. He's got them playing quite well, I think. You know, as a team, there's goals in them, and I wouldn't fancy our chances too much there. Southampton, I think their manager is a bit of a surprise package, actually, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, very much so.
You can see him popping up at a slightly bigger club than Southampton in the not too distant future. You know, and dare I say it, somebody like Mikel Arteta under a bit of pressure. Obviously, Arsenal in a real relegation battle this season.
Yeah.
You know, and you could see them perhaps hitting the panic button at some point. And you know, the man down at Southampton might just be someone they'd be tempted by. But I can't see us getting anything either at St Mary's or Goodison. 3 points against Brighton, and what could have been a promising season starting to fizzle out, I'm afraid, because the depth isn't there. And this is the time of year when you get found out. You know, we've seen in the last couple of days, Manchester United with enormous resources, suddenly they can turn it on against Leeds United. Yeah, no problem. Liverpool, Klopp can whinge as much as he likes about, you know, he needs at least 30 subs a game. The reality is he's got a very good squad and plenty of depth. You know, clubs like ours, no. Once you strip past the first 11, the starting 11, it's not quite there. And then clubs like Southampton or Brighton, suddenly it's a leveller. Suddenly our not quite first 11 isn't quite strong enough to beat their not quite first 11. And that's the problem. So a bit of doom and gloom for me at this point in time.
Okay, three points for you then, Pinky. Thank you very much. Coming to Gnome. Gnome, you've got loads and loads to talk about. We've got your prediction for the next 3 games. I want to know what David Moyes had to say, and I'd also like to know what the Sky pundits team felt about the Bowen incident, which they were just chatting about.
Okay.
So start where you like.
I'll start where I like. Moyes, we'll do Moyes first.
Okay.
Not the happiest of bunnies. Not over the performance because he thought we did well for long periods tonight. But his comment was we didn't do enough in the box at either end. He was unhappy with some of the decisions. He wouldn't be drawn on which decisions in particular, and that'll come on to with the belated and almost reluctant Sky analysis of the Bowen goal. But overall, he did want to sort of take some positives from that. But he said that we didn't work the goalkeeper enough, and he said on the one hand, yes, 3-0 was harsh. On the other hand, that's the score that's gone into the book. So sort of like less than happy with the result, less than happy with some of the decisions. And just before they showed Mr. Moyes with the interview, they did show the officials walking off, and Moyes looking at them and couldn't work out what he was saying. My lip reading's not that good, but it was not complimentary. And referees, the referee and the assistants looked kind of sheepish almost as they were walking off. So that was that. Sky finally had a look at it, and what they've said is that it's Bowen's knee catches very, very slightly Silva's foot. Now, what in fact happens when you look at it again is actually it's Silva's foot catches Bowen's knee, and it's very, very slight. And of course, Silva, little bit of contact, which he's instigated, throws himself to the floor. Carragher didn't want to waste too much time on it because it didn't suit his agenda. But he said, VAR, they weren't going to overturn that. But I can see why they might feel a little upset. Well, to me, that was a good goal. It's the same old thing. Contact has got to be enough to actually send the player down. It's no use feeling the contact, throwing yourself down, particularly if you've instigated the contact, which is what happened there, I think.
And also the question there, Gnome, is if it was, the contact was, as you say, why does Silva hit the deck clutching his midriff?
Oh, he's going to go down. I mean, a couple of times, it wasn't just him, but the usual thing where there's, you're under a bit of pressure from a corner, the ball goes up in the air, you throw yourself to the floor, hold your head as the ball gets cleared. That's then going to... that the referee's going to see you sort of holding the back of your head or clutching something. At the moment, head injuries are, something quite rightly they've got to be on the minds of everyone. I'm not belittling the decision to sort of go head injuries, but I just think by some of these teams it's being exploited. And you can't. I'm referees' fiercest critics. We've got too many poor referees in the Premier League.
I never noticed.
To be honest, and cynical though it may be, I think on the whole, I'd rather a referee err on the side of caution rather than see somebody seriously injured on that. But it doesn't stop me being frustrated and annoyed by teams that do it all the time. And I can, fair play. I can appreciate why. You're a referee. You've got to be, your first consideration in any game has got to be the safety of players. It really, that has got to come before anything else. So if you see someone where you think that might be a genuine injury, you've got to stop the game. And I just dislike teams who are coached to actually take advantage of that.
But, all right, well, let's move on to the Christmas games. Three matches. We go to Brighton. We host Brighton and then we go to Southampton, Everton. Briz has gone for 4 points. Rio thinks 2. Pinky thinks 3. Can you see us getting any more than that?
3, possibly 4. I think we'll beat Brighton. Southampton have impressed me in recent weeks.
Yeah.
And again, we're getting back to the chairman thing, but if Jim White really wants to praise how Sullivan and Gold are running the club, let Sullivan and Gold go to Southampton and see how they run a transfer policy. The science behind what they do, they have a plan. They have players that will fit into how they want to play, and then they'll look at the players themselves. And for everyone they've signed, there've probably been 2 or 3 who you think might have been better players in themselves, but they've decided that for whatever reason, be it the player's personality, be it the player, some sort of fitness stats or something like that, won't fit, and they'll always end up, and invariably they'll end up with the right one. by the looks of things. You know,
Yeah.
I'm sure there are Southampton supporters who come around and tell me that they've got a load of dodgy signings, but if they are, they're hiding them well. So they've impressed me, and that's the way they've run the club. You know, could you see Sullivan go sticking with a manager after a 9-0 defeat? Southampton did, and it's served them well. So
nothing there for you. You can't see.
I think we might get a point there.
Okay.
We might get a point there, but that's more hope than expectation.
Yeah.
And the third one, I think Everton will probably have a little bit too much for us. But conversely, we could also get a point there. I don't think we'll get points at both Everton and Southampton, but I think we'll get one out of either or of those. So I think 4 points probably. I'm hoping for 4 points on the cards.
Okay.
Obviously, subject to us having a reasonably fit squad, and you know, I mean, what's the youth team? What's the youth team goalkeeper like at the moment? Because if he's on the bench as well as Randolph and Martin next week, then we really should raise some eyebrows. So
yeah,
that's how I'm looking at things.
Well, you know, look on the positive side. At least that's one area we've got no worries in terms of cover. We saw 3 of them in the 18-man squad tonight. But there you go. So Gnome, it's 4 points for you maximum. You know, but it's still a little bit bleak, isn't it, gentlemen? After what was a fantastic start to the season, you know, this was the worry from the start, that a couple of injuries and maybe the wheels start to come off. Well, they're certainly wobbling now. If they haven't come off yet, it's another disappointing night for West Ham. A 3-0 defeat at Chelsea, and you know, it didn't seem like that sort of game at all. It certainly wasn't that sort of game. You know, Chelsea, as Pinky has pointed out, their supporters couldn't quite believe that they'd won 3-0 tonight, but that's the way it is, as David Moyes said, according to Gnome. You know, that's the score that will be recorded in the history books. Chelsea 3.
One of their biggest wins since they were founded in 2003, isn't it, Joe?
There you go. So a disappointing night all round for West Ham and the rest of us, but that's it until Christmas. There are no more games until the 27th. So on behalf of all of the team here at Knees Up Mother Brown, I'd like to wish all of you, our viewers, a very, very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. We'll, of course, be back with you before that happens. And let's just like to say to everybody, keep safe. Stay safe out there. You know, it's going to be a tough few days and a tough Christmas, but, you know, just look after each other. And I think Bill Gardner said it right actually today when I spoke to him in an interview. He said, if you've got an elderly neighbour out there who's on their own, or someone, you know, maybe not so elderly who lives alone, just go and knock on their door. And you can't go in, of course, but just go and say hello. A few words of kindness at what is a difficult time of year for everybody. And
Graham, we are the elderly neighbours.
You're absolutely right. It's dawned on me he was talking about me, wasn't he? That's what it was. Just being kind. Someone go and knock on Graham's door. He's not a young, and all of us. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Of course, no, none of us. But there you go. So without rambling on any further, it's a disappointing night for West Ham. But on the bright side, we've had Briz back tonight. It's good to see Mark back on the team for the first time in a while. And also good, as always, to have the thoughts, very considered thoughts of Rio and the Pink Palermo and Gnome. We shall see you all after Christmas for West Ham United versus Brighton in 6 days' time. Until then, stay safe, look after yourself, and have the best possible Christmas you possibly can.